welcome to the online lecture number 16 of GE 103. So today we'll discuss chapter 7, that is decision making and looping. So the basic concept of loop is already cleared in your initial lectures. So there are three kind of statements in loop of C. The first is for loop, then while loop, and do while loop. So for loop and while loop I have already explained, but I'll also explain it again here so that if there is any confusion, then all the confusion should be clear. Then the first here the at the beginning of this chapter we have to understand that why loop is required. So suppose you are writing a program. So at what point of your program you need a loop statement? That means you need a for loop, you need a while loop, or need a do loop. Or you can say that at what point of time the concept of if else switch case is not enough and you have to use a loop statement. That depends on this flowchart. If we go directly to flowchart, I think this flowchart is familiar to you because I have explained this flowchart to you. So if you find that the logic of your program needs a particular part which will repeat again and again, again and again. For example, here, if you see this part, whatever logic you will write here, this part need to be executed multiple times, again and again. So in this particular case you have to use loop. Or for example, if you remember the last quiz there was a question given last, I think most probably the last question, where you have to calculate the sum. So if you want to calculate the sum, then basically you need to write sum equal to sum plus I or something, sum plus I. So but the same statement you have to repeat multiple times, again and again. So that is the reason we have to use a loop there. So the same thing is explained in this flowchart. If you see, this is the entry point of the loop. After entering here, first of all, it will check the condition. If condition is false, it will go out of the loop. And if the condition is true, it will go here. It will execute the body of the loop. Or if this part is actually the part which you want to repeat multiple times. And then it will again go from control will go from here to here again, and then again it will check the condition. If condition now the condition is false, then it will go here, and if again the condition is true, again it will go here and execute this and basically repeat the statement, the body, and then again it will go. So that's why it is looping, or you can say iterating. So every time it will execute this, it is called one iteration. Next time it will come, it will call second iteration. Third time when it will come here, we will call it a third iteration. So every time it's called one iteration. You have to remember this term because many time in future maybe I'll use this term called iteration. So if you see the diagram of the right side, it is also similar, but here after entering it is directly executing the loop body, and then after executing the loop body, here it is checking the condition, and if the condition is true, it will again going here and executing the loop body, and if the condition is false, it is coming out of the loop. So this is also a type of loop structure. So both, if you remember, I said that there are three types of looping statement: for loop, while loop, and do while loop. So for loop and while loop falls in this diagram. So basically, for loop and while loop, the structure of these two statement actually relate with this diagram, and the do while loop or do statement is actually relating with this particular diagram. So, but you have to remember that you can use any looping statement, any of these three in any place. Maybe there will be slight changes required, but you can use any of this looping statement in for any requirement. It is possible, but most of the time you may see that people are using for loop and while loop and not do while loop. Why? There is a reason that we will explain, but there may be some specific cases where if you go for do while, it will be easy for you. Okay. So basically, this is the genetic structure of loop. Genetic structure means what are the common step which is exist in all the three looping statements. First is initialization, setting the initialization or condition variable, then execution of the statement. This is the main part. That means this is the loop body. Then test for the specific condition. If condition is true, will execute the loop. If statement is false, then it will go out of the loop. And incrementing or updating the condition variable, you have to increment or update the condition variable. So if we try to relate this four, 1, 2, 3, and 4 with any with any this loop statements. Let me write a loop statement here. so it will be easy for you to understand. So see, the points here is one, two. This is initialization point, this is execution, this is testing the case, and this is incrementing or updating. So this is the four generic points, but these points are not sequential every time for any loop. For example, if I go for loop, normally we write for loop like this: integer I equal to 0, I less than n, suppose I plus plus, and then there is a body of for loop here, and you can write anything here. This is the body, you can write anything here. This is the actual execution body. I'm not, this is the loop body actually. So this is a for loop. So if you see for loop here, I have explained everything to you, so I'm not explaining in detail. First of all, in the first iteration or first time we'll initialize it I equal to 0. This is only executed the first time. So here the step one is executing at first, right? And then after initializing we'll check this condition, and if this condition is true we'll go to execution. So here, after in case of for loop, after this point one we're checking point three, isn't it? First we'll initialize, then we'll check this condition. If this condition is true, we'll go to inside the body, and then we'll execute the body. So that body is called point two here, execution of the statement inside the loop. So this is actually, it's called loop body, inside the loop, all the statement inside the loop. And then after executing this again, next time it will go here and it will increment the value. So this point is mentioned here as fourth point. So these are the fourth point here. So these are the four generic point: initialization, then testing, then execution of the body, and then increment decrement of the condition variable. So these are the 4 points. So this is how in for loop it is executing. First it will go for initialization, then it will check the condition, then it will execute the body, then next time it will go here, increment the or decrement the condition variable, and then it will just check this condition, and it will go again here if it is true. Next time it will not check initialization. Initialization will perform only once. Okay, this part is clear. So now let me write a while loop and see how this statements execute. If I want to write the same code inside while, and if I write I less than n, okay, and this is your loop body. This is also loop body, so don't be confused. Okay, so this is your loop body. Do you think this is the program is complete? The program is not complete here. If you see the code of while loop here, we have only written the condition, that is the point 3 here. Point 3 is mentioned here because this we are checking the condition of the variable. So point 3 is there, execution of the body is there. So point 3 and point 2 are there, but point 1 and point 2 are missing, because that it means that we didn't initialize the variable, it didn't initialize the condition variable, and also it didn't increment or decrement the variable. So these two are also very very important. So if you are using while loop, you have to initialize the condition variable before starting the while loop. So let me write it here: integer I equal to 0. You have to write it here. In for loop it is not required, but in while loop initialization statement must be written before starting the while loop. Okay, and after the loop body you have to write increment or decrement also. You can write I plus plus, this is perfectly fine, but or you can also write I equal to I plus 1 if your variable needs to be incremented. Basically what I am doing, I am trying to write the same code here. I'm saying, so that's why I'm incrementing, I'm using I and all. Okay, so there is a basic difference in for loop and all. See, ultimately they are doing the same task, but how the loops can be written here, in for loop it is the easiest one. You just need to write one line, and the compiler knows how to repeat it. But in case of while loop, you have to first write initialization statement by yourself. That is a line number one. That is the point number one, and then inside the while loop, this whatever you write here, this is the condition checking. Condition checking means point three. Then the body of the loop is here. This is the body of the loop, executing the body of the, that is point 2. And lastly you have to increment or decrement the while loop. Suppose you, if you miss this line, if you miss this line and if you write like this, it means that if you compare with these points, you have in your this statement point 1 is there, point 2 is there, and point 3 is there, but point 4 is missing. So in that case what will happen? Can you guess? In that case, in this particular case, if you run this while loop, it will go for infinitely. It will execute infinitely, because suppose the value of n is 4. Suppose the value of n is 4, so the value of I will never greater than value of I will never be larger than n, because initially we are initializing it with 0 and we are never incrementing or decrementing it. So For a loop, all these 4 points are important that you have to remember. Now let me write a so this line is important. Let me write a do while loop. Do while loop normally we write like this: do, and then this is the loop body. Okay, and then this I equal to, let me write I plus plus, and then while, and then the condition I less than n. Now what is the difference? One important difference here, you can observe it. We need a semicolon here at the end, which is not required for loop. We are not using a semicolon here. We are not using a semicolon here. But in do while loop, we need a semicolon here. That is the first point. Second point, if you see that do while loop, the condition checking is at the end. So that, as I have mentioned before, it is the for loop and while loop are satisfying with this flow diagram. Why? Because we are checking the condition first and then we are entering the body. We are checking the condition first. If condition is true, then we are going to the body. And same case in while loop also. Maybe writing is little bit different. We have to initialize here in the while loop, but ultimately they are following this same flow chart. Here also we have to check the condition. If the condition is true, then only we are entering the loop body, right? But if you see the do while loop, then in do while loop, the moment this loop statement is starting, we are executing the loop body, and then we are going to the testing. So flow it's satisfying this particular diagram. So in this particular diagram, it is entering the for loop. It is entering the loop, then it is executing the body. After executing the body, it is going for testing. So here first, a loop body will come first, and then condition. That's why do while satisfy this particular diagram. So now what is the advantage here? Now let me just relate do while with all these points. So here also this is the condition point, that is condition point number 3, and here incrementing decrementing is there, so it is point number 4. Loop body is there, so point number 2 is there, point number 1 is missing, so we have to write integer I equal to 0. Now it is a complete do while loop, right? So now what is the difference here? If you see the main difference here that I've just explained in terms of flowchart, now I'm explaining it in terms of programming language. That here in for loop and while loop, first of all we check the condition and then execute the body. But in do while we'll first execute the body and then we go for checking the condition. So it means that in do while loop, whatever be your condition, it will execute the loop body at least once. That's why you can write it here, at least once. Why at least once here? Because we are executing the loop body without checking any condition. So it means that whatever be your condition, suppose if I assume that integer n is 4 and your initial value of I is 8. Suppose initial value of I is 8. So when you go to this condition, then what will be the value of this? I is less than n or not. Initial value of I was 8, so, and here in this line I is already changed, so now I is 9. But the value of n is 4, so this condition is false, so it will come out from this while loop. But even if it is coming out from this while loop, do while loop, but still it's already execute this loop body once. So that is the main advantage of do while. If you are writing a program and in your program you want to write a loop, but your loop body should execute at least once, then you go for do while loop, then it will be better for you. Now if you go for while loop here, suppose the same example, if I use n equal to 4 and if I write I equal to 8, what will happen? Sorry, what will happen here in while loop? Because if n equal to 4 and I equal to 8, then first when we'll start executing while loop, it will come here and it will check I less than n or not. I is less than 1. What is the result of this expression? True or false? It's false, because I is not less than n, right? It's false. So the moment it will false, it is jump from here to here. It will not print anything. It will not. It will not execute anything. It will not enter the loop body for loop body. It will directly jump. So it means that for the same kind of situation here, the while loop is not entering in loop body, but for the same situation here, do while will enter the loop body for once. So this is the main difference, and the same thing is true for here also. If I write n equal to 4 and if I initialize this for loop with 8, then it is the same thing, right? The for loop will never enter in the loop body. So this is the main structure of this loop, three looping thing: for loop, while loop, and do while. I hope it is clear to you, and I have also explained you the different this substructure, sub statement inside the for loop statement, inside the loop statement, and these are the generic steps. All these steps are necessary in any loop. Means any loop statement, no matter if you are using for loop, while loop, or do while loop, you must be all these 4 points are important, and these 4 points must be mentioned in your loop statement. So I hope this point is clear to you, so I am moving next. So now there are so here it is written these three types of statements that I've already explained you. Now there are two types of loops normally exist. So now I'm saying about loop. So when I'm saying about when every time I use the term loop, you have to understand that I'm saying about all this whenever I say loop, it means any loop: while loop, do loop, for loop, any loop, it's called loop. So what if I want to I specifically say for loop, do loop, or while loop, then it's a separate thing. But every time I say loop, you have to understand that I'm saying about any loop, any looping statement. Okay. So if you see, there are two types of looping statement possible. One is called counter control loops, and another is sentinel control loops. Counter control loops I have used many times in class. For example, I'll only concentrate on for loop because others are also similar. Suppose, no, I'll concentrate on while, so it will be easy for you to understand the point. Suppose if I concentrate on this while loop, and let me use some valid result. Suppose this is the condition. So what do you think? How many times this while loop will execute, or how many iterations is possible for this while loop? I hope you remember the term iteration. This while loop will iterate 10 times. So first, it will start for I equal to 0, and every time I will increment, and up to I9 it will execute. So at the time when I9 it will execute this, and now I'll become 10. So when it will come here, then now the condition will false and it will jump from here. So this will execute 10 times. So here, why it is called counter base? Because you know the value that how many times you have to repeat the statement. So this is required for maximum number of times. So if you remember all the examples that I have shown you till in this class, all loops are based on counters. For example, whenever there is a program that I have written that calculate the sum of n number of elements, or calculate that, suppose there is a number given, calculate the sum of all the digits, or suppose the number is given like n, so calculate the sum of all the numbers starting from 1 to n. So in all these cases, you know how many times you have to repeat the loop, right? You know how many times you have to repeat the loop. So that is called counter control loops. Counter control, because the value of counter is already known to you. And there is an example given in the last assignment also, that you have to calculate a sum so in this case also, you know how many times you have to repeat the loop. So that's why this is called, that's why this type of situation is called counter control loops. Now let me show you an example which is different, and this is the example. Suppose here, if you go and check this program, this is the character variable, and here this check the condition is while variable not equal to x. While variable not equal to x, we have to repeat this statement again and again. What is the current value of this variable? One variable on current value is b. So first time this statement is true, it will come here, it will print this statement mode line, and then it is get character. Get character I have not explained, most probably I'll explain in next class. It's a kind of statement like similar to scanf, but what scanf do, scanf takes input from you. But by using scanf, you can take any type of input: integer, floating point variable, string, different types of input you can take. But get character will take only one character from keyboard for you. So but it's the purpose is same. So let me explain the code here. This is the first line, line number 4. There is a variable declared as character type and initialized with v, and then while statement, and then it will check this condition is initially true, so it will come here, it will print this line, and then it will wait for you here. Why it will wait for you? Same as scanf. If you write a scanf here, scanf will wait for you here, right? So it will wait for you here. So moment you press a key entry, any key in keyboard and press enter, it will take that key and it will continue. It will continue. So let me run this code for you. Um, Let me run it again. See, it is saying one more line. So it is printing. It has printed one more line first time, and now it is waiting here for me. Waiting. That means it is waiting at line number 7. So I need to enter a character. This is get character. So let me enter a character called A and press on. So again it has printed this one more line. It is printed one more line here. If I print it again, then it will again print one more line. And if I press again E, it is printing one more line here. So it is constantly printing like this. So now if we want to exit this while loop, what to do? If I press X here, then the moment you press X here, it will come out of this loop. Why it is doing like this? Because here whenever you are writing the while loop, you don't know how many times you have to repeat the loop. It is not previously decided. What is decided is you will ask something, it will do, you will do some operation, you will do execute this loop body, and then you will decide the condition variable dynamically runtime. So how you are deciding the condition variable here? You are deciding condition variable by allowing the user to enter a character, or basically you can say you are saying user that do you want to continue, yes or no. If the user is saying yes, you will continue, otherwise no, right? So if this the and no means X, otherwise if user is pressing any other character, it will repeat. So this type of for statement is not counter based, it is called sentinel based, right? So but when you see the code, there is a problem maybe you have observed in this code. If you run this code every time, let me run this code, then you will realize. If I press here A, then it is printing twice. One more line, right? It is not printing once, but it is printing twice. So these, but assume that it is printing only once, because these are the problem of get character that I will explain you in most probably next lecture. Basically, what is happening? You are pressing two character, not one. First, you are pressing A, and then you are pressing enter. That's why. If I only press enter, then it is printing only once. See, only one. So why? Because when I'm pressing enter, enter is also a character, right? It's a new line character. So, and it is not X. So if you only press one, see, it is printing multiple times, but it is not executing. So see, every time it is executing one more line once, and then it is waiting for you in 7 to enter a character. That just press enter. If when you press enter, it is also a character, new line character. So it is repeating again, and your program will never end until you want to end it by yourself. So how to end it? You have to press X anytime. So if I enter X, then it means the next time when you'll go here where value of this variable is X, so it will come out from this loop and program will end. So I hope you understand the difference between counter based loop and sentinel based loop. One is called counter control loop and one is called sentinel control loop. Okay, so this variable is called sentinel here. This variable is your sentinel here. I hope it is clear to you. Then let us move to next. Then the this next they have explained the while statement in detail. I have already explained the while statement in detail, so I'm skipping this. Next they have explained for statement and do statement in detail. That also I have already explained you what is the difference between while loop and do statement, or you can say do while statement. That also I have already explained, so I'm skipping it. Read it by yourself. For loop also I've explained you. So for statement also I'm skipping. Also the for statement is already used many times in this course, so I think for statement is already clear to you even before this lecture. So these are the important points about for loop. I'm skipping it again, you have to read it by yourself. And okay, one more important thing, try to write the program like this. See, these are the some formulas. So how to write a program for this, you can practice it. So now I'll use some additional features of for loop, which I have not explained you previously, but these we normally don't use it every time, but sometimes it is important. So why, what is called additional feature? Suppose if you have two statement like this, p equal to 1, and then you are writing a for loop. So instead of this, you can also write it here like this: p equal to 1, comma n equal to 2. It means that the initialization part of for loop need not always be only one statement. So if I go here again, and if I write a for statement for integer I equal to 0, I less than n, and I plus plus, that I have written, and I said this part is initialization part. So, but what I am saying now here, the initialization part need not initialize only one variable. It can initialize multiple variable also. So instead of this, if I want to write like this, that integer I equal to 0, comma p equal to 1, and suppose there is a variable already defined as p. So I'm assuming that there is a variable already defined as p. So this is also correct. You can write like this also. The same thing is written here. If you can initialize multiple variables inside for loop, inside the initialization part of for loop. See, and also you can use multiple, you can increment or decrement multiple variables in the increment decrement part. See, I think there will be a example like this also here. uh, it is not here, I think, but you that it is also possible that here, since you can use multiple initialization variable, here also you can increment multiple values. Both are possible. And for this, additional thing we are using a comma here. So this entire part is the initialization part, and now the condition part, and that is the increment decrement part. The same thing is possible in increment decrement also. You can use two variables here. Suppose I plus plus and p plus plus. This is also true. This entire part is increment decrement part. This is your condition part, and this is your initialization part. This is possible in for loop. So this is a special feature of for loop. Read it from here, you will understand it. Okay. Nesting for loop. Nesting for loop, I'll explain you at the end. Nesting for loop is a very important point. I'll explain it at the end. This is how you have to need to select a loop. When to select while loop, when to select do loop, and when to select for loop. Read it by yourself. This is very easy, but I'm giving you as an assignment. You have to understand it by yourself, that when you need to use for loop, when you need to use while loop, and when you need to use do while loop. Okay, jumps in loop is very important. So let me explain you jump in loop. What is called jump in loop? So let me write you a simple for loop again and delete all these extra things. Suppose if I write a statement like this is a simple for loop that you already know. And suppose value of n is 10 initially. So how many times this will run? So it's printf. If I write, I'm not executing this program today because these are very simple program. Uh, new iteration, new iteration. So if I run this code now, how many times this new iteration will print? There will be, it will print 10 number of times, right? It will print 10 number of times because initial value of n is 10 and I is 0. So 10 number of times. But what I want to print is, I want to print new iteration only for even values of I. For example, when the value of I is 0, 2, or 4, 6, at that time I want to print this line. And when the value of I is 1 or 3, at that time I don't want to print this. So one way is to do is just increment it I equal to I plus 1, I plus 2. That is the one way, but I don't want to do this because I want to show you a different example. So now here, if I write, if if I mod 2 not equal to 0, then continue. If I write like this, then what will happen? Better, should we run this code? I think you will understand it. I'm not writing this code. So here, if you see, there is a if statement here, but if statement has only one statement inside this if. So I have not used curly braces, but you can also use curly braces. Let me use curly braces, so there should not be any confusion. Okay. So now, what is continue here? Basically, if you skip this line, if you assume that there is no such line here, then this new iteration will print 10 number of times. But if now if you write this line, so it is saying if I mod 2 not equal to 0, it means it is checking if I is even or not. If I is not even, it will go for continue, and if I is even, then it will not go for continue, it will directly come here. So what is the purpose of continue here? So every time whenever you write a continue statement inside your loop, it's not like for loop, any loop, every time if you write a continue statement here, it will jump from here directly to here. Continue means it will go directly to next iteration, it will not go here. Okay, what I am saying is, what is the what is the main advantage of loop? It is that they repeat the body again and again, and it will go for multiple iteration until a condition is false. So if I remove this part, then what will happen? This is the body. If I remove this part, right, then this is the body. So this body will repeat again and again, go for multiple iteration. But the moment I write continue inside the body, so now this entire thing is a loop body. This is the loop body. This is the entire loop body. So this loop body will execute 10 number of times, fine, but then not the complete body. So if you write a continue here, why the purpose of continue here is the moment you execute continue, it will jump from here to here, and it will skip the remaining body part for the same iteration, not for other iteration, for the same iteration. For example, suppose when I equal to 0, I'll enter here, and this condition will be true. So when this condition will be true, and sorry, this condition will be false. When this condition is false, it will directly jump from here to here, it will not execute continue, so it will print this line and it will again go here. Now when I equal to 1 will come here, and now we'll check when this condition is true or false. Now for I equal to 1, this condition is true. The moment this condition is true, it will go here in continue. And in the moment you will execute continue statement, it will jump from here to next iteration. Next iteration means from here it will go again here, and for I equal to 2, so now again it will come here I equal to 2. I for I equal to 2, the value is again false, so it will jump here, it will print. Next time again it will go here, and now it will come for I equal to 3. For I equal to 3, again this value is true, so it will go here, and again it will find continue. The moment it will find continue, it will jump from here to the for loop again, the beginning of this for loop. So this is the purpose of continue. Anytime you write continue, it will skip the remaining lines for that particular iteration, not for all iteration. For that particular iteration, this continue will skip all the remaining parts and directly jump from here to next iteration. This is called continue. There is another statement called break. This is called break. Break you already know, I've already used in switch statement. Break means jumping out of the loop. Anytime you write break, break means it will come out here. This is sometime it is also required. So if we use break also sometime in loop statement. So if you write a break statement here, it will just come out here. The moment you'll execute it, it will come out here. So how it this will execute this program? First time for I equal to 0, this is false, so it will print new iteration. When I equal to 1, next time when I equal to 1, it will come here, and it will find that okay, this statement is true, so it will go inside and execute break, and it will come out of this for loop. That's it. This line will print only once. Even it should execute repeat for 10 number of times, but it will not repeat because you have written a break statement, so it will just come out here. So I hope you understand these two statement, continue and break. If these two statement is not clear to you, please repeat my this lecture part or read it from book, because these 2 point is very important. These two statement, because many times you cannot write a proper C program without understanding the concept of these two. These two are very important. So I hope it is clear to you. Now, uh, then I think there is no more concept left in this chapter. Let me check once. Yeah, that the continue part I have already explained you, and then break part I have also explained. Go to you can avoid. See, it is written go to. So anything related with go to in this chapter, you can skip this part. I'll not ask any question related with go to. You can, but you just read it once. What is go to? And maybe and you will find it in previous chapter also. In this chapter, there is called a concept called go to, but it is better to avoid go to. Jumping out of program, I have also explained. Jumping out of program is called break statement. Okay, and so I think this chapter is finished. Only thing remaining is a this nested for loop. So nested for loop I'll explain in detail when I'll go for two-dimensional array, because when I have explained array it's for one dimension, but when I'll go for two-dimensional array, nested for loop is very important. But here I'll quickly explain it without running any program. Nested for loop means for loop inside for loop, and which is also true for other loops. Means you can, for while loop also you can write a while loop inside while loop, but I'm only explaining in terms of for loop. Here what is happening here, you just concentrate on the first for loop. If you just concentrate on the first for loop, then everything written inside is the body of that for loop. Ignore that what are, it's ignore this inner loop, just ignore this inner loop and just assume this for loop, first for loop. So if you go for first for loop, the entire thing written here, entire thing written, sorry, I maybe I so let me write a code here so it will be better to explain. So I have written the same program for you. The program written here, the same program I have written here. So if you see here, there are two for loop inside for loop. So if we just concentrate on first for loop, then this entire thing is the body of the first for loop, right? So how many times this body will repeat? This body will repeat here for 10 times, because if you see the value of n is 10 and we are initializing I with 0. So this body will execute 10 number of times. Now see what is there inside the body. Inside the body, this is the first line. I have said dot dot dot, assume that there are some lines here, some lines here, and then after this, let me delete this so that there should not be any confusion. After this there are some dot dot, means there are some lines here. After this there is a, this is also a part of the body of outer for loop, outer for loop. So what is this part? This part is again a for loop. This part is again a for loop. So it means that every time, for example, suppose when I equal to 0, I enter for this body, I'll execute the whatever written in dot dot dot, whatever the expressions, and then I'll go here and I'll have to execute this for loop again, because this is also a part of the body. And assume that what is the value of I. Initially the value of I is now 0. When I equal to 0, I came here, I executed this, and then I have to execute this for loop. So now this is again a for loop. So that means it has to be repeat again and again. How many times you should repeat? You see the value of m is again 10. Value of m is again 10 and value of z is 0. So this will repeat 10 times. So for each value of I, you have to repeat this statement 10 times for each I, right? Because when I equal to 0, we came here, we'll execute this line, and then we have to execute this statement. This statement is a for statement, and then whatever be the statement, for statement means we have to repeat it. There is no difference that whether a for statement is written inside of another for statement or inside another while statement. There is no difference. The moment you find a for statement, you have to execute it. And how, if we execute this for statement, then it will repeat this line printf hello 10 number of times. So it means that for every I, this line, this printf will print how many times? This printf will, so better this line should be written not here. It should write here. This line should print 10 times for each I. And then I'm explaining everything in terms of I equal to 0. And then we'll execute this statement, and then we'll go here, and again from here we'll go this for loop, and now we'll increment the value of I from 0 to 1. Now again we'll check the conditions. Condition is still true. We'll go here, execute this line, and then we'll go to this for loop again, and this for loop will again repeat for 10 more times, right? 10 more times. So and then we'll go here, we'll execute this statement and again jump here, and now I will be 2. Like this we'll increment the outer loop, and every time we go inside, for example, when I equal to 2 will go inside, we have to increment this for loop, same as the any for loop, same as any for loop. So initially it will start from z equal to 0, and then z equal to 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 7, then 8, then 9, right? After 9 when it will become 10, then at that time this condition will false, it will come out from this, it will come out from this loop, it will go here, it will execute this, and then jump here, and now the value of I will be 3, like this. So I hope you understand the nested for loops. So the purpose of nested for loop will be clear. I'll give you an example, but I'll not write the complete code, but I'll give you an example today. So just a quick question. So what do you think, how many times this hello will print? If you run this code in your program, how many times it hello will print? It will print 10 times or more than 10 times? I'll say that this hello will print 100 times. Why 100 times? Because for each eye it is printing 10 times. And how many eyes are there? There are 10. How many iteration is there for the outer for loop? For outer for loop there are 10 iteration, and for each iteration it will print 10 times. So 10 into 10, 100. Check it by yourself. Write the code by yourself and try to find out why it will print 100 times. Okay. Now, let me give you an example when inner for loop is important. Suppose if I give you a number called 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a number. And what I'm expecting from you that you have to find out this, that you have to find out 2 factorial plus 3 factorial plus 4 factorial plus 5 factorial plus 6 factorial. You have to find this. So anytime I give you a number, you have to find the factorial of each digit, and then you have to sum all the factorial, and then you have to give me the final value. Suppose this is a valid question, right? It can be, it is doable, right? Suppose this is the value of n. I have given, I said that I'll give you a value, any value. Suppose n, you have to find out all the digits separately, and for all the digits, you have to calculate the um, factorial, like 2 factorial, 3 factorial, and you have to add all the factorials, and you have to give the final result. And I want this final result. In this case, how you can write? Just so this is also assignment for you. You can try writing this program by yourself. If you want to write this program, you need nested for loop. Why? Because the first for loop here, first for loop will give you these values, 2, then 3, then 4. These values will be given by first for loop. Okay, and then the internal for loop is required to find out the factorials. So what I advise you that first of all you try to write a program that how to calculate the factorial of any number. So for this factorial need only one for loop, but since here you need factorial, first of all you have to calculate, find out the digit 2, 3, 4. So that need one for loop, and then for calculating factorial for each digit you need another for loop. So for loop inside for loop is required. Always remember, here I've shown you example in terms of for loop, but you can also write it with any other loops, while loop or do while loop. But for this particular case or this type of programs, using for loop will be better for you. Okay, so I think I have covered most of the concept from this chapter to you. You have to read the chapter multiple times to understand all the concept, and you can skip the go to part. Okay, so I'm stopping here, and just before stopping this class, I am reminding you that tomorrow you have your midterm quiz from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and whatever I covered till today is a part of your midterm syllabus. Okay, thank you.